Chapter 1. Unexpected Arrival. Alex Mallory leaned back in his chair, staring at the government-issued tablet resting on his desk. The words on the screen were as strange as they were unsettling. Congratulations, citizen. As part of Earth's new intergalactic partnership program, you have been selected to host a government-issued alien companion. This companion will be arriving within the next 48 hours to begin an in-person, live-in arrangement. Please prepare accordingly. Alex ran a hand through his hair, trying to wrap his mind around the message. An alien? Living with him? Of all the people in his research division, why had he been selected? He sighed, rubbing his temples. Alex had spent years pursuing a quiet, orderly life, working on his research in genetic mapping and keeping his social interactions to a minimum. He liked the solitude, the predictability of his routine. Now, the government was assigning him an alien companion as part of some new intergalactic partnership initiative he knew next to nothing about. The message didn't say much about the alien itself, only that the species, known as the Lyrax, had unique empathic abilities and a strong interest in human culture. The phrase "use me however you like" was highlighted in the documentation, a phrase that left him more confused than reassured. Alex wondered just how literal that phrase was meant to be. 2 days later, Alex stood by his window, watching as a government transport vehicle pulled up in front of his modest apartment building. He took a deep breath, reminding himself that this was simply an experiment, an assignment meant to further interspecies understanding. Still, he couldn't help but feel a strange combination of curiosity and apprehension. The doorbell rang, and Alex's heart skipped a beat. He straightened his shirt, trying to look presentable, and opened the door. Standing in the hallway was a tall, sleek figure wrapped in a dark, shimmering cloak. Her skin was a soft shade of lavender, her eyes a deep, piercing blue that seemed to see right through him. She had a gentle, feline grace to her features, with pointed ears and high cheekbones, giving her an exotic, otherworldly beauty. Her hair, a soft silver that fell to her shoulders, shimmered faintly in the apartment's dim light. She offered him a polite smile, inclining her head. "Alex Mallory, I presume?" Alex nodded, momentarily lost for words. Yes, that's me." She held out her hand, her movements fluid and deliberate. "I am Ria. I've been assigned to you as your government-issued companion." Alex hesitated before taking her hand. Her skin was cool to the touch, but not unpleasantly so. Her grip was firm yet gentle, and he could feel a faint, almost electric sensation tingling through his hand as they shook. "Welcome, Ria," he said, stepping aside to let her in. "Please come in." She entered the apartment, her gaze sweeping over the modest space with quiet curiosity. Alex watched her, still struggling to process the reality of the situation. An actual alien was standing in his living room, studying his bookshelves, his furniture, even the mundane trinkets he had scattered about. It felt surreal, as though he had stepped into a science fiction story. After a few moments of silence, Ria turned to him, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "Thank you for welcoming me into your home, Alex. I trust that you've been briefed on the nature of our arrangement?" Alex scratched the back of his head, trying to appear more confident than he felt. "Briefed might be an overstatement. They told me you'd be living here as part of some new diplomatic initiative, but, well, that's about it." Ria nodded, her expression softening. The Intergalactic Partnership Program is a pilot initiative aimed at fostering mutual understanding between our species. I am here as a companion, not merely an observer. My goal is to learn from you, to experience human culture firsthand, and to assist you in whatever way you deem necessary. Alex raised an eyebrow, catching the faintly suggestive tone in her voice. "When you say assist me in whatever way I deem necessary, what exactly does that mean?" Ria's lips curved into a small smile, a playful glint in her eyes. "I am here to serve, Alex. I am equipped with knowledge of your customs, your language, and your culture. But I am also here to learn. So if there is anything I can do to make your life easier, to support you in your work, or simply to make you feel at ease, that is my purpose." Alex felt a faint blush creeping up his neck. He cleared his throat, trying to maintain his composure. "Right. Well, I guess we can start with something simple. Let me show you around." He gave her a brief tour of his apartment, showing her the kitchen, the living area, and the small guest room where she would be staying. Ria listened attentively, asking occasional questions about the objects and devices that filled his space. Her questions were intelligent and insightful, often revealing her unfamiliarity with certain human customs. As they moved through the apartment, Alex found himself relaxing, his initial apprehension giving way to genuine curiosity. Rhea was polite, well-spoken, and possessed an aura of calm that put him at ease. He had expected something far more rigid or formal, but Rhea seemed genuinely interested in him, not just as a human subject, but as an individual. When the tour was over, they settled in the living room, and Rhea sat across from him, her posture elegant and poised. "So, Alex," she began, her voice soft and inviting, "tell me about yourself. What is it that you do?" Alex hesitated, and used to talking about himself. "I'm a geneticist," he replied. "I work in a lab nearby, researching ways to improve gene therapy for rare diseases." Rhea's eyes lit up with interest. "Genetics. Fascinating. My species has a deep appreciation for the study of biological inheritance. Our own physiology is shaped by a complex genetic history. I would love to learn more about your work." Alex felt a surge of pride, surprised by her genuine enthusiasm. "Well, it's not as glamorous as it sounds, but I suppose I could show you some of my research sometime." Rhea's smile widened. "I would be honored. And in return, I can share some of my own knowledge of genetics and physiology. My people have a unique approach to biological evolution." Alex leaned forward, intrigued. "Really? I'd love to hear more about that." Rhea's expression softened, and she seemed almost pleased. "My species, the Lyrax, have developed a natural ability to sense and respond to the emotions of others. It's a survival trait that has allowed us to form strong social bonds and communicate without words. We call it the resonance." Alex tilted his head, intrigued. "So, you can actually sense emotions? Like telepathy?" Rhea shook her head. "Not telepathy, exactly. We cannot read thoughts. But we can sense emotional energy, the feelings that people emit unconsciously. It allows us to understand each other on a deeper level, to feel empathy in a way that goes beyond words." Alex's gaze softened, his initial curiosity evolving into genuine admiration. "That sounds incredible. I can't imagine what that must be like." Rhea's eyes held his, her gaze warm and open. "Perhaps in time, I can teach you to sense it as well. Emotional resonance is not limited to our species alone. It's a matter of awareness, of being attuned to the subtle energies around us." Alex found himself captivated by her words, drawn into the world she described. For the first time, he realized that Rhea wasn't just an alien companion. She was a being with her own depth, her own culture, her own sense of purpose. The initial awkwardness he had felt was melting away, replaced by a growing sense of connection. The evening stretched on as they continued talking, exchanging stories and insights. Rhea was endlessly curious, asking about everything from human art to the mysteries of Earth's oceans. In turn, she shared stories of her homeworld, a place of vast, shimmering forests and bioluminescent creatures, a world that seemed like something out of a dream. As the night wore on, Alex felt a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. He was surprised by how easily he found himself opening up to her, sharing pieces of himself that he rarely revealed to anyone. He felt understood in a way he hadn't expected. Finally, as they both grew tired, Rhea rose, offering him a serene smile. "Thank you, Alex. This has been a wonderful first day. I look forward to learning even more from you." Alex nodded, feeling a strange pang of reluctance as she left the room. "Good night, Rhea." "Good night, Alex," she replied, her voice a soft purr that lingered in the air as she disappeared into the guest room. As Alex lay in bed that night, he found himself unable to sleep, his mind racing with thoughts of Rhea and the strange, exciting world she had opened up to him. He had expected her presence to be an intrusion, an inconvenience forced upon him by the government. But now, as he stared at the ceiling, he found himself wondering what the next day would bring and feeling an anticipation he hadn't felt in years. Chapter 2. Learning Each Other's Worlds. The morning sun filtered through Alex's window as he awoke, still feeling the lingering sense of excitement from his conversation with Rhea. He hadn't expected to connect with her so quickly, and yet he found himself looking forward to the day ahead with an enthusiasm he rarely felt. As he shuffled into the kitchen, He found Rhea already there, her silver hair catching the light as she examined his coffee maker with a look of intense curiosity. "Good morning, Alex," she greeted him warmly, her eyes lighting up as she saw him. "Morning, Rhea. Are you, trying to figure out how to make coffee?" he asked with a grin. Rhea nodded, her gaze flickering between him and the machine. "Yes, I noticed you using it last night, and I wanted to try preparing it myself. Your culture places a high value on morning rituals, yes?" Alex chuckled. "You could say that. Here, let me show you how it's done." He walked her through the process, explaining each step as he measured out the coffee grounds and poured water into the machine. Rhea watched him intently, her curiosity unfiltered, as though every small task held some hidden depth. Once the coffee was brewing, she looked at him thoughtfully. "Thank you, Alex. You make even the simplest tasks seem significant," she said with a soft smile. Alex felt his cheeks warm at her words. "I'm not sure about that, but thanks." They settled at the table with their coffee, and Rhea took a careful sip, her face lighting up with surprise. "It's bitter, but in a good way." Alex laughed. "Yeah, it's an acquired taste. A lot of humans can't get through the day without it." Rhea nodded thoughtfully. "We have something similar on my planet, an herbal drink that enhances mental clarity, though it's more soothing than stimulating." She took another sip, her expression becoming contemplative. "Human culture fascinates me. Your species values individual rituals, personal space, and privacy, yet also craves connection. It's a delicate balance." Alex leaned back, intrigued by her observations. "That's pretty accurate. We like having our own space, but we also want companionship. I think it's why humans can be a little guarded at first." Rhea tilted her head, her gaze intense. "And are you guarded, Alex?" The question caught him off guard. He wasn't used to people asking him such personal questions, let alone someone who had just arrived in his life. But something about her gentle, curious expression made it easy to answer. "I suppose I am," he admitted, looking down at his coffee. "I've always been more comfortable on my own. Science is orderly, predictable. Relationships, emotions, they're messy." Rhea's lips curved into a soft smile. "Perhaps that's why we're here, to help each other understand these complexities." They spent the morning discussing their worlds, their experiences, and their cultures. Rhea was particularly fascinated by Earth's history and human traditions, listening with rapt attention as Alex explained the significance of things like art, literature, and music. Rhea's own stories were equally captivating. She spoke of her people's ancient traditions, of vast cities built within towering crystal structures that shimmered under a sky of two moons. Her descriptions were vivid, each one painting a picture of a world so different from his own that it was almost hard to imagine. At one point, she paused, her gaze turning distant. "My people have a belief, a guiding principle. We call it the resonance of souls. It is the idea that every life, every being, is connected by invisible threads. To truly understand another is to feel their resonance, to know their essence without the need for words." Alex listened, fascinated. "So, it's like empathy?" "In a way," she replied, nodding. "But it's deeper. My people can sense emotions, yes, but resonance goes beyond that. It is a union of awareness, a willingness to be vulnerable, to open oneself completely to another. It's a rare connection, but one we cherish deeply." He took a moment to process this. "That's beautiful. I think a lot of humans would be afraid of that kind of vulnerability." Rhea's gaze softened. "Are you afraid of it, Alex?" He hesitated, unsure how to answer. "I suppose I am. It's just unfamiliar." Rhea reached across the table, her fingers brushing his hand in a gesture that was both comforting and electric. "If you are open to it, I would be honored to share a bit of my resonance with you. It is a simple exchange, just a small glimpse." Alex swallowed, both nervous and intrigued. "How does it work?" "Close your eyes," she instructed gently, her voice calm and reassuring. He did as she asked, feeling the warmth of her hand in his. For a moment, he felt nothing unusual, just the sensation of her cool skin against his own. But then, a faint warmth spread through him, like a gentle current of energy flowing from her hand to his. It was subtle at first, but it grew stronger, and he felt an overwhelming sense of calm, a peace that seemed to sink into his very being. Images and emotions began to flicker in his mind, moments from her life, glimpses of a childhood on a distant world, laughter with friends, a sense of wonder at the mysteries of the universe. He could feel her curiosity, her compassion, and even a trace of sadness, a longing that he couldn't quite understand. When he opened his eyes, he found her watching him, her expression soft and understanding. That was incredible, he murmured, still feeling the lingering effects of the resonance. Ria withdrew her hand, nodding. Thank you for allowing me to share that with you. It is a rare gift to connect in such a way. Alex felt a strange sense of gratitude mixed with awe. Is this what it feels like for you, all the time? To feel others' emotions so deeply? Ria nodded slowly. Yes, it can be overwhelming, but it also allows us to understand one another on a profound level. It is why my people value emotional honesty. We cannot hide from each other, so we have learned to embrace openness. As the day wore on, Alex found himself growing more comfortable with Ria, his initial hesitations giving way to genuine admiration and respect. They spent the afternoon working side by side, with Ria eagerly helping him organize data for his research. She was intelligent and observant, quickly picking up on the complex processes involved in genetic mapping. At one point, she glanced up, a playful glint in her eyes. Is it true that humans often dance when they are feeling joyful? Alex laughed, slightly embarrassed. Some of us do, yeah, but I'm not much of a dancer. Ria tilted her head, a mischievous smile forming. Would you be willing to teach me? He hesitated, feeling a bit awkward, but something about her open curiosity made it hard to say no. All right, but don't blame me if I step on your feet. They cleared a small space in the living room, and Alex awkwardly demonstrated a few simple dance steps. Ria followed his movements, her grace and fluidity making him look clumsy in comparison. But she didn't seem to mind, laughing softly whenever he stumbled or made a misstep. As they danced, he found himself laughing, too, the tension and awkwardness melting away. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt so lighthearted, so free. Ria's laughter was infectious, and he found himself matching her steps with surprising ease, caught up in the moment. Eventually, they stopped, both slightly out of breath but smiling. Thank you, Alex, Ria said, her eyes shining with warmth. That was delightful. He smiled back, feeling a strange sense of contentment. I should be thanking you. I didn't expect to enjoy that as much as I did. As evening settled over the apartment, they prepared dinner together, Ria showing an almost childlike wonder as she learned how to cook human food. Alex found himself watching her with a mixture of admiration and affection, marveling at the way she embraced each new experience with such openness. By the time they finished eating, Alex felt as though he had known her for far longer than just a day. Ria had a way of making him feel understood, valued, even connected in a way he hadn't thought possible. As they said goodnight, Alex couldn't help but feel that his life had already changed in ways he was only beginning to understand. Ria was more than a government-issued companion. She was a friend, a confidant, and perhaps even a guide to a world of emotions he had long kept at bay. And as he drifted off to sleep, he found himself wondering what else she would teach him about the mysteries of connection, and whether he was ready to embrace the unknown journey ahead. Chapter 3. Secrets Revealed. The days that followed blended together in a rhythm that felt both new and comforting. Alex and Ria settled into a natural routine: morning coffee, shared meals, late-night discussions on everything from science to art, to questions about existence and purpose. Ria's presence had become something he looked forward to, a bright spot in the predictable, often lonely structure of his life. One evening, after a long day in the lab, Alex returned home to find Ria sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by books. She had discovered his personal library and was deeply engrossed in human philosophy, flipping through pages with a look of intense concentration. "Welcome back, Alex," she greeted him without looking up, as if she had sensed his presence before he'd even entered the room. Alex chuckled, setting his bag down. "You seem to be having a productive evening." Ria looked up, her eyes glinting with excitement. Humans have so many perspectives on the nature of existence. The concepts of love, justice, destiny, all these ideas are endlessly fascinating. My people's philosophies are more pragmatic. Pragmatic? Alex asked, curious. He took a seat across from her, eager to hear more. Rhea nodded, closing one of the books. Yes, we tend to view existence as a cycle, where each life contributes to the greater whole. It's less about the individual and more about the collective. Our focus is on balance, harmony, and the resonance that binds us all. Alex leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. I think a lot of humans would benefit from that perspective. We're a bit chaotic by nature. Rhea smiled, a soft, wistful look in her eyes. Perhaps that's why we're drawn to you. There's a resilience, a fire in humanity that my people admire. Alex's gaze softened. Your people are admirable too, Rhea. Your empathy, your understanding. It's something we could all learn from. They sat in comfortable silence, the weight of their conversation settling over them. But then, Alex noticed something in Rhea's expression, a flicker of hesitation, as though she was holding something back. Is there something you're not telling me? He asked gently, sensing her reluctance. Rhea's gaze fell, her expression clouding with uncertainty. There is something I've wanted to share with you, but I wasn't sure how. Alex leaned closer, his tone encouraging. You can tell me anything, Rhea. I want to understand. Rhea took a deep breath, her hands fidgeting slightly in her lap. The truth is, there's more to this intergalactic partnership program than what you've been told. My people didn't come here solely out of a desire for cultural exchange. Alex's brow furrowed. Then why are you here? Rhea hesitated, as if choosing her words carefully. Our planet, Lyraxis, is dying. The ecosystem is collapsing, and my people's survival is at risk. We've been searching for a new home, a place where we could live in harmony with another species. The partnership program was a way for us to evaluate humanity, to see if our species could coexist. Alex's heart skipped a beat as the weight of her confession sank in. So, you're here to decide if Earth could become your new home. Rhea nodded, her expression somber. Yes, but it's not as simple as relocating. We would need to ensure that our presence wouldn't disrupt your world, that humans could accept us as equals. He sat back, absorbing the gravity of her words. And what have you found so far? Rhea met his gaze, her expression filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. You've shown me kindness, openness, things that give me hope. But not everyone would be as accepting. There are still many challenges, many fears to overcome. Alex nodded slowly, understanding the complexity of the situation. I can see why you'd be cautious. Humanity doesn't always respond well to change. They fell silent, each lost in thought. Alex could feel a pang of sadness, an ache for Rhea and her people. He had come to care about her, and the idea of her facing such uncertainty, of her people being at the mercy of an unpredictable future, stirred something within him. Is there anything I can do to help? He asked softly, his voice laced with sincerity. Rhea looked at him, her eyes bright with gratitude. Just being open, as you have been, helping others see the value of cooperation, of unity. That is more than enough. As they sat there, a new understanding passed between them, one that went beyond words. Alex realized that Rhea was more than just his companion. She was a representative of her people, a bridge between worlds. And he was determined to stand by her, to help in whatever way he could. The next day, Alex brought Rhea with him to the lab, introducing her to his colleagues as part of a government-mandated observation day. His co-workers were curious but wary, their reactions a mix of fascination and skepticism. Rhea handled it with grace, answering their questions with patience and warmth, despite the occasional skeptical glance or hesitant smile. But one particular colleague, Dr. Harper, seemed unusually cold, his gaze hard as he studied Rhea from a distance. When Alex asked him what was wrong, Dr. Harper's response was blunt and unsettling. I don't trust them, Alex. These aliens, they're here for more than just cultural exchange. Mark my words, there's more going on than they're telling us. Alex felt a surge of frustration, resisting the urge to snap back. Instead, he forced a calm response. Maybe you should give them a chance, Harper. Rhea's been nothing but respectful and kind. Dr. Harper shrugged, his expression unyielding. We'll see. The encounter left Alex shaken, a reminder of the challenges Rhea and her people would face if they ever tried to make Earth their home. But it also strengthened his resolve. He knew that trust was a fragile thing, something that would need time and understanding to grow. That evening, as they walked home together, Alex couldn't help but voice his concerns. Rhea, what happens if humanity decides we're not ready? If people like Harper can't accept your presence? Rhea's expression was unreadable, her gaze distant. Then we will move on. Find another place. But I hope it doesn't come to that. We've already sacrificed so much to reach this point. Alex's heart ached for her, for the uncertainty she carried. He reached out, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. You're not alone in this, Rhea. I'll do everything I can to help you, to help others see the value in this partnership. She looked at him, her expression softening. Thank you, Alex. Your support means more than you know. As they entered his apartment, Rhea paused, turning to face him. Her gaze held a quiet intensity, a depth of emotion that took him by surprise. Alex, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. There is something else I need to share with you. Something personal. He nodded, his heart pounding. You can tell me anything, Rhea. She took a deep breath, her eyes never leaving his. I've come to care about you, Alex. More than I expected. It's not something my people would normally experience with a human, but there's a connection, a resonance, that I can't ignore. Alex's heart skipped a beat, a mix of surprise and warmth flooding through him. He had felt it too, that inexplicable bond that had grown between them. But hearing her say it out loud made it real, made it undeniable. I feel it too, Rhea, he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. I didn't expect any of this, but I'm glad it happened. For a moment, they stood in silence, the air between them thick with unspoken emotions. Then, slowly, Rhea reached out, taking his hand in hers, her touch gentle yet filled with a quiet strength. Whatever happens, Alex, she murmured, her voice steady, know that I am grateful to have met you. You've shown me a kindness that I will carry with me, no matter where this journey leads. He squeezed her hand, feeling a profound sense of connection, a bond that went beyond the boundaries of species and culture. In that moment, he knew that he would do everything in his power to help her, to ensure that her people found a place where they could be safe, accepted, and free. They stood there, hand in hand, both aware of the uncertain future that lay ahead but comforted by the knowledge that they wouldn't face it alone. Together, they had become more than just companions. They were allies, bound by a shared hope for a future where humanity and the Lyrax could coexist in harmony. And as the night settled around them, Alex felt a quiet certainty that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would stand by Rhea's side, fighting for a world where understanding and compassion could triumph over fear. Chapter 4. A Future Together. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity, filled with late nights and hurried meetings. After Rhea's revelation, Alex's resolve to help her and her people had only strengthened. They spent long hours in his lab, analyzing data, compiling reports, and drafting a proposal to present to Earth's officials, a plea to welcome the Lyrax as allies and partners rather than as an unknown threat. Despite the intensity of their mission, the connection between Alex and Rhea deepened. The quiet, unspoken bond they had developed grew stronger with each passing day, until Alex couldn't imagine his life without her. He had always been cautious with his emotions, but Rhea had unlocked something within him, a willingness to trust, to be vulnerable, to believe in something beyond his carefully guarded routines. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Alex found Rhea sitting by his window, gazing at the night sky. She looked serene, her silver hair glinting in the moonlight, but there was a hint of sadness in her expression that tugged at his heart. Rhea, he said softly, stepping beside her. Is everything all right? She turned to him, her smile warm but tinged with sorrow. I was just thinking about my people. We're scattered across the galaxy, searching for a home. For many of us, Earth represents hope, a chance to start again. Alex sat down beside her, his hand resting on hers. We're going to make this work, Rhea. We'll show them that your people belong here, that we can live side by side. She looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. What if they say no, Alex? What if humanity decides we're too different, too much of a risk? Alex's heart clenched at the thought. He had seen the suspicion in some of his colleagues' eyes, the way Dr. Harper had looked at Rhea as though she were an outsider. But he couldn't let that fear hold him back. He had to believe that, in the end, compassion would outweigh fear. Then we'll keep trying, he replied, squeezing her hand. We'll find a way, no matter what. Ria's eyes softened, and she leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. "Thank you, Alex. Your kindness. It's something I'll carry with me, no matter where I go." They sat together in silence, their hearts beating in quiet rhythm, sharing a moment of peace amidst the uncertainty. The day of the presentation arrived sooner than Alex had anticipated. The government had agreed to review his proposal, but the atmosphere in the conference hall was tense. A panel of officials sat at the head of the room, their expressions guarded, and the seats were filled with representatives from various departments, all watching with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Alex stood at the podium, Ria by his side, her presence a calm and steadying force. As he began to speak, he felt his nerves settle, his determination taking over. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady, "we stand at a crossroads in human history. For the first time, we have the opportunity to welcome another intelligent species into our world, to form a bond that could transform not only our own lives but the lives of an entire civilization." He glanced at Ria, drawing strength from her calm expression, and continued. "The Lyrax, Ria's people, have come to us not as conquerors, but as allies, as beings who wish to share in the wonders of our world and offer us the wisdom of theirs. They bring knowledge, culture, and empathy that could enrich humanity beyond measure." Alex outlined the potential benefits of the partnership, emphasizing the Lyrax's unique empathic abilities and the ways in which their peaceful society could serve as an inspiration to humans. He spoke passionately about the need for unity, for mutual understanding, urging the audience to look beyond fear and embrace the possibilities of a shared future. As he finished, he looked out at the room, his heart pounding as he awaited their response. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a murmur rippled through the crowd as the officials exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of intrigue and hesitation. Finally, one of the officials, a woman with a calm but calculating gaze, addressed him. "Dr. Mallory, we appreciate your passion and your dedication. However, there are legitimate concerns about the integration of an alien species into our society. How can we be certain that such a partnership would not disrupt our way of life?" Alex took a deep breath, prepared for the question. "With all due respect, humanity has faced challenges of integration before across cultures, continents, and ideologies. Each time, we've come out stronger, more resilient. The Lyrax are willing to adapt, to work with us rather than impose their ways. Ria herself has been a perfect example of this cooperation." Ria stepped forward, her voice clear and filled with quiet dignity. "I understand your concerns. My people are not here to take over or change your world. We simply seek a place where we can coexist, to live in harmony with humanity and contribute in any way we can." The official seemed to consider this, her gaze softening slightly. "Thank you, Ria. Your honesty is appreciated." After a tense moment, the panel convened to discuss the matter privately, leaving Alex and Ria to wait outside. The minutes ticked by, each one stretching longer than the last. Alex's nerves frayed with each passing second, and he found himself pacing, glancing at Ria with worry. Finally, the doors opened, and the officials returned, their expressions serious. "We have reached a decision," the lead official announced, her tone formal. "We believe in the potential of this partnership and are willing to allow the Lyrax to remain on Earth under close supervision. However, this will be a provisional arrangement, subject to review in 1 year." Alex let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, relief washing over him. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start-a chance for the Lyrax to prove their worth and for humanity to grow accustomed to their presence. Ria turned to him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Alex. We couldn't have done this without you." He smiled, his heart full. "This is just the beginning, Ria. There's so much more to come." Over the next year, Alex and Ria worked tirelessly, helping to integrate the Lyrax into human society, fostering understanding and friendship between their peoples. The journey wasn't without challenges, but with each passing day, they saw progress, a willingness among humans to accept, to welcome, to embrace a future that was broader, more inclusive than they'd ever imagined. Through it all, Alex and Ria's bond only grew stronger. They were partners, confidants, and, eventually, more than just friends. The connection that had once been unspoken blossomed into something undeniable, a love that transcended the boundaries of species, one built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. And as they looked to the future, they knew that their story was just one small part of a much larger journey, a journey that would shape not only their lives but the lives of countless others, forging a path toward a world where unity and understanding could overcome even the greatest of differences. Together, they stood on the threshold of a new era, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.